Welcome to the Reddit library. Serious, what made you realize that maybe your family wasn't as normal as it seemed? That most people weren't afraid of their dads and family movie night or game night wasn't just a thing people made up for movies. Family dinners is what did it for me. I went to a friend's house, and at dinner we went around the table sharing about our days, thinking up answers to silly questions. The jealousy was so jarring I could hardly enjoy the moment. I can totally relate. My family doesn't do family dinners at all. My parents eat in front of the TV, and I go upstairs to my room. The only time we have dinner all together at the table is when family is over, and it is really weird. Some parents actually treat their adopted and biological kids as if they are both their kids entirely, and one being adopted just means the DNA is different and isn't a factor in their parenting or a topic in any conversation. That's what I don't get. Why would you adopt a child then to dislike it and not treat it as your own? Either fully care for it or not adopt it in the first place. I don't get that either. My dad has a friend who was adopted. The family had maybe 6 natural born kids. Something happened and 2 of them died. They then adopted 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl. The boy was taken care of, but he was treated different by the dad, like a lesser family member. Grew up to be a good guy and raise a family, but I even saw a little of that resentment in my limited interactions with him. I don't understand how anyone can bring a kid into their home and not love them. We all know that DNA isn't what family is really about. I was 14, and I was invited to dinner at my boyfriend's house. They were allowed to talk to each other at dinner, and they appeared to be interested in each other's lives. I had a friend in middle school that had a family like that. We would sit at the table for dinner, and were not allowed to speak. If we made a peep and somehow we got to laughing, or the beginnings of a convo, her stepdad would snap and tell us to shut up. I thought it was extremely strange. Then again, my family always talked, watched TV, laughed, or sometimes argued. I don't really get why some families don't talk at dinner. What's the point of getting everyone together then? When I was 6 or 7, I was invited to a sleepover, and we ruined my friend's mom's makeup and clothes after playing dress up without her permission. Her mom said, "Claire, this is the last straw. I've had enough." I started packing up my things because I assumed her mom was going to call CPS and Claire was going to a new foster home. I sat on the porch waiting for the cop car, and Claire's mom came out. We had a very confusing conversation, and eventually Claire's mom realized that when my mother got very drunk and sad, and I tipped her over by refusing dinner or not taking a bath, she would call CPS to bring me back to foster care. Claire's mom had a very strange facial expression. She explained that she hadn't really meant anything with that sentence. Then she took us all out for ice cream. This utterly broke my heart, thinking, oh, for poor little child so readily accepting rejection. I'm so sorry that was you, and I hope you are doing far better now, X. I'd say after I left high schoolies, when I fully realized how messed up it was. When you grow up in those scenarios, it becomes completely normal to you. While I was in school, my friends were the outcast kids, and they also had weird family lives, so it seemed normal to us. I grew up in a 3-bedroom 1-bath house with 13 people, 5 dogs and 3 cats. After I moved away from my hometown and made other friends, when I realized how abnormal everything really was. One day we were talking about childhood stories, and I mentioned going on graveyard runs, and everybody looked at me like I was nuts. I explained that my dad used to wake my sister and myself up in the middle of the night and tell us we are going on a graveyard run, and to get into the car, he would drive to a cemetery and pull all the way to the back and say, "Alright, you have to make your way to the front gate." To come back home, we would get out of the car, and then he would turn off all the car lights and drive away while we chased after it. I feel like that was much more of a light-hearted weird thing we did, and as an adult I only have fond memories of that experience. My friends told me that was really messed up though. I just asked my dad how he came up with the idea, and here is a copy/paste of his reply. Night of the Living Dead. Asked you guys, would you go in a graveyard? And you said no problem. So I said let's go. Lol. Wow, that graveyard run thing sounds really bizarre, but honestly, the way you describe it didn't sound, I don't know, it sounded wholesome, like a game, a very bizarre game. Did you ever figure out why your dad did that? I only realized this as an adult. Holding in your emotions and releasing them every few months is definitely not normal. My family aren't the most emotional of people, even by British standards. We never say I love you to each other. Edit. I will say for the record, my parents have told me now and then they are proud of what me and my sister have accomplished in my lives. They are not cold-hearted people at all. I just think they express things in a different way to the majority of people. I had the reverse of this to a degree. I'm British and come from a family who tell each they love each other lots and hug and kiss lots. When I was 12, my best friend came on our family holiday with us. My mum and I hugged my mum, then asked her about her family hugging, and she said they never did. It then occurred to me that I had never even seen her mum or dad hug, kiss or tell her little brother, who was 7, but I'd known since he was 4 that they loved him before bedtime. I realized that not all families did that, and that was despite my family having lots of what I shall politely call quirks. When I found out that most people don't receive punishment by being slapped and locked in the garage, I was 7. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing much better now. Thanks, I am. This will probably get buried, but screw it, why not? Not me, but a friend I had growing up. We grew up in a normal middle-class neighborhood with mostly normal suburban houses, and I had a buddy who lived just down the road. We did all the things normal kids do: explore the woods behind my house, mess around, talk about girls, so on and so forth. Now the thing to realize is that this kid, let's call him Dave, had some seriously controlling parents. Like, this was beyond helicopter parenting. Dave's parents felt the need to have control over every aspect of his life. He has 45 minutes of screen time a day. He had to attend church every Sunday no matter what, even at time missing sports tournaments and social activities. He wasn't allowed to date. He couldn't have friends that his mom didn't pre-prove. His father installed security cameras all over the house, including literally his bathroom and bedroom. Now the thing to mention is that Dave wasn't allowed to go over to other people's house for the fear of only God knows what. But one day, after many hours of pleading and begging and a meeting with my parents the day before, he was allowed to come over to hang for an hour. Things were fine, and you could bet we were going to make the most of that time. I suggested we grab some snacks from the pantry before heading up to my room. It was then when Dave gave me a severely puzzled look. Turns out, this kid's mom locks the pantry with a bike lock aside from meal times. I had to explain to this kid that that's not normal and that his parents are pretty much psychos. Ended up sending the kid home with a drawstring filled to the brim with junk food, considering the fact that his entire kitchen's on lockdown aside from dinner and lunch. They didn't believe in breakfast. TLDR. Childhood friend finds out it's not normal to be denied food during the day via coming over to my house. My mother is one of 9 children. 7 of them had kids, their kids had kids, and some of my cousins are grandparents. I'm the 3rd youngest of 31 first cousins. I'm 40 for age context. All of my aunts/uncles on my mom's side are still living. The family is spread literally from coast to coast. I live in upstate New York. I have a cousin in San Diego, California. Every other Thanksgiving, one random cousin hosts a family reunion. As many of us as possible travel to one location to hang out, play board games, drink, cook, and just be together. I never really realized how special that was until the last reunion. The hotel clerk asked me why we were in town. I explained my family situation and her eyes got misty and sparkly. Her face spoke volumes. She was in awe and happy and sad all at once. She said, "You are so lucky. My family never does anything like that, and we all live in the same town." It was then that it hit me how special my family really is. My kids are friends with their first cousins once removed. None of them live within 400 miles of each other. We fight to love each other. We invest financially in our family memories. 10/10ths will continue to invest. I grew up in a little town in Texas. While I could end it there, that's not all. My brother is autistic, nonverbal, and incontinent. I've been extremely poor all of my life and grew up in small houses with barely enough food to feed everyone. When I was old enough to start school, I went. It was pretty normal and I made friends. I had a good time at school and loved my teachers. I seemed like a normal kid with a normal family. My mother came in with my brother one day in a stroller to come pick me up so we could pick up food from the bank. She picked me up from my classroom so all of my friends and classmates saw my brother. He was 9 years old, in a stroller. Not something most people would consider normal. Before I went to see my mom, one of my friends asked me who they were and why a big boy was in a stroller like that. I told them he has autism and the stroller helps my mom with him. I went off to my mom and came back into school the next day. All my teachers, classmates, and friends were treating me different. I went the rest of the year wondering why everyone stopped liking me in the blink of an eye. I realized pretty quickly after the year was over that people think my brother is weird. I tried to hide him for a couple years, told my mom not to bring him when she came to pick me up. I started not to care after a while because I loved my brother and I was going to stand up for him no matter what. Thank you so much u/Metamorphosis for the silver award. You are very kind. That dads don't go to night school and assume daytime childcare duties once mothers return to work. My dad was the only male chaperone for school trips. After the split, dad also had full-time custody of myself and my half-sister, his stepdaughter. No courts involved. Never an issue with my mom, he just loved being a dad. I loved watching him be a dad. I had no idea men so routinely checked out of families until my late teens. My youngest son used to trip family out because he played with dolls. He had 2 babies, Emma and Adam. He would pack their diaper bag with snacks, diapers, and extra clothes. He would bustle around getting their things together and settling them down for naps, etc. My dumb sister said he was a sissy and he overheard her not understanding the word. Calmly, he corrected her. No, I'm daddy. Whatever my husband's faults as a husband, he is a wonderful father. Here's to all the awesome dads. When I realized we were all stuck to my mother's painkillers, I still remember the first time at 16 finding out what opiate withdrawals were. I couldn't go to school without hydrocodone/oxycodone, Xanax and Soma every day. It made me the kid I wanted to be, confident and social, everything I wasn't normally. Yet we looked like the perfect upper middle class family until we weren't anymore. Still dealing with the consequences of a hit at 31 years old on Suboxone. Wow, it must have been a lot to go through when you found that out. How were you all stuck to your mother's painkillers, though? She just gave them to me and my sister, I guess out of ignorance, maybe IDK. She also bribed us with them to do work around the house and it ended up being a really toxic situation.